Welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available in podcast form. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. We invite your questions and comments. Hit us up at DJ at ArtistFirst.com. And now, here they are, your hosts. We call them Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Yes, we do. Hi, Scott.
Hi, guys.
We are ourselves tonight because we can't be anybody else.
This is true.
Actually, we could be, but then it wouldn't be our show. Hey, I just lost. I am Michael Lyons. I feel like it's an echo lead at this point, but and
I'm Margaret.
She's Margaret, and this is the Soul of Everyman. And now that we all know where we are and we're well orientated, we're going to leap off into the unknown. And tonight is an interesting show because I think that I'm going to just make sort of a broad statement to start us off here. I think that being where we are in our society today, it has never been easier to air one's grievances to a willing audience, or rather to a sympathetic audience. And by that I mean that, it used to be that you had to get yourself a soapbox, stand in Times Square, and yell at the unwashed. And maybe you would draw a crowd or you would draw an arrest warrant or something like that. But, fast forward 50 years, and now you've got your own portable soapbox in your pocket at all times, and you can literally just, complain to your heart's content about anything and everything at a moment's notice. And in doing so, what you've given yourself the ability to seek and acquire sympathy. Oh, poor you. Really, from at any moment of the day, and you see it all the time. People are just going along and they say, "Oh, XYZ thing happened to me. Can you believe it?" Words to the effect, and you'll have, some number of people just chiming in, saying, "Oh gosh, man, it sucks to be you," kind of stuff, and boy, oh boy, you're really something to have to put up with that, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing that, and you should be taking this, all the way up to the Supreme Court or whatever. This whole kind of litany of sort of chiming in, the Greek chorus of insincere sympathy, but it still feeds that kind of, I whine and somebody responds.
Well, that was the foundation of the Greek theater, where you always had the Greek chorus whenever they would do some sort of production, theatrical play. That was part of their Greek drama. So
yeah.
What we have is portable Greek drama going on.
Yes. Our technology has advanced to the point where we now have a portable Greek drama in everybody's front pocket.
It just brings to mind my big fat Greek wedding and all the drama that was going on, and now everybody can share in the drama because you put it on your phone, and the Greek chorus is just singing in the background constantly.
And it's Greek, but in fact, it's this ability to whinge about something really at any moment of the day or night, and almost the expectation that somebody will both listen and comment and be, sympathetic to my poor situation. And you say, "Oh, well, it's good that you always have somebody to support you," but it's not good from this point of view. And the point of view is that often people will confuse complaining about something with having with taking an action about it, with actually doing something to address what it is that you are complaining about. When you complain, you basically are making a wailing noise and waiting for anybody, to assuage you, to basically come in and say, "Oh, you poor baby. Oh, you're so put upon. You're so brave. You're so da, da." It is a way of of using that which is bothering you, or that which is oppressing you or making you feel bad, instead of taking action against it, instead of taking up arms, against the sea of troubles, you can just say, "Oh, everything's so terrible," cry in your beer. And somebody will be there next to you and say, "Oh, you poor baby," and pat you on the head. And you may feel better, but you've done nothing. In fact, what you've done is made yourself into a parasite of the persecution. You're using the persecution as a vehicle to get gratification from this sympathetic ear.
Right. And what I'd like to point out is that the Greek chorus, the way that was used, was a way to be able to sort of go the internal workings of a person's mind. That was always what that echo was about. He's in like a contemplative moment, trying to figure out something. And the chorus was always echoing whatever the thought is. But if you continued with the Greek play, there was always actions taken and results happening, usually tragic.
Usually tragic.
But that was the way the Greek theater was.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that if you're going to make your life into something like that, you must take action afterwards.
Or instead of a play, you basically have this sort of endless soliloquy. This endless talking to yourself.
If
right.
you don't take action, all you're doing is you're stuck in that moment of echo.
Right.
Because the chorus was always echoing the inner thoughts.
Right. And to go back to some of the other shows that we've done more recently, it's a mind moment where the mind is looking for a reflection of itself, and therefore hearing that echo back, "Oh, you poor baby," is just the mind getting itself, self-gratified. This.
Well, that's the narcissus moment.
Narcissus. We're right back in the Greeks. You can't get away from them. They're everywhere.
But that's the truth of it. It's understanding. I mean, most of these not characters. What would you call them? These archetypes. Most of these archetypes are there for a reason, so that you can begin to identify what it is that you're seeing and the tendencies that happen. Narcissus basically died next to the pool because he was so in love with his reflection that he didn't eat, sleep, or drink. He was so into himself that life was over.
Yeah, and to bring it to a more modern reference, what is the internet but a giant pool of Narcissus?
The reflective pool, right? But it's understanding that that's pretty much what it can be.
Yes.
Instead of utilizing it in a completely different form, a different type of tool.
Well, like any tool, I mean, that's a great way to put it. Any tool can be used for good or ill. It really comes down to what you do with it. But because the internet has a lot of sharp edges and it has a lot of mirrors, it allows you to indulge much more easily than you ever could before in this sort of internal dialogue, this sort of endless reflection, the Greek chorus, oh poor baby, that you can get on an instant's notice and really constantly throughout your every waking moment. So go ahead.
You basically are given the opportunity to perpetuate that moment of poor me, or will you take that moment to expand the situation so that there are other options for yourself? You've got to decide one way or the other, because one is very narrowing and one opens up possibilities. So if you don't want to have the possibilities and you like the idea that, you're getting sympathy and it's poor me, then it narrows down to that single thread of thought or utterance or word even, just repeatedly over and over again ad nauseum.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of jumped into this, so let's jump back a little bit. Our theme this evening really was to talk about the difference between those who, or rather, the seduction of being a victim, and the fact that if you are a victim, you can't be a victor. Now that's sort of a great alliteration, wonderful, but in fact, what we're really saying is that this endless pool of narcissus, where your complaint or your displaying of this kind of pity me, poor me, is also a way to lose yourself. It's a way to sit there endlessly reflecting with those who are sympathetic, even if it's not genuine. You don't care. It reinforces this sort of echo chamber of complaint and response. And along with this idea, we found this wonderful quote from Tolle, and Tolle is always incredibly pithy, and I think because he sat on that park bench too long, but he came up with this beautiful quote, and I'm just going to read it. It says, "When you complain, you make yourself a victim." And that's what people are doing in this sort of easy internet, but anywhere. You complain, you make yourself a victim. And he says three things: leave the situation, leave what is causing you the trouble, change it, which is take action, or accept it. I mean, he leaves you that final option, which is, okay, I can't do anything but accept it. All else is madness. And you can hear him saying it in his lovely little quiet German accent. All else is madness. Because the madness is what we were just talking about, this endless complaining to the point of nihilism, of utter absorption with self, is madness, because it becomes a maddening cycle.
But that is the end point of that mindset. Complaining opens the door for you to be a victim.
Yes.
And once you accept your identity as victim, you are powerless to change anything.
And it does what you just said before. It narrows you.
And Tolle had given 3 pathways on how to interact with that. So you can either change it, leave it, change it, or accept it.
Right.
And the interesting part is what he's talking about is the mindset. Do you decide to disengage? Do you decide to do something to alter it? Or do you accept it? And therefore understand that your ability to shift things is an internal perspective.
Well, yeah, and let's concentrate on acceptance for a moment, because people say, well, accepting it is just like, basically knuckling under or something. But he's not talking about that. When a situation, when something is impinging upon you, and it makes you feel as though you're being victimized, you may not be able to escape it. You may be in a situation which you cannot change or escape. You can't leave it, and you can't change it. But the fact that you accept it versus complain about it is a very different mindset. It says it looks very similar. You're You're still in the situation. You're still being oppressed or whatever it is that's happening to you. But acceptance does exactly what you said. It puts you into the internal mode of I have brought this within. I understand it, that it is not me.
Mm-hmm.
Complaining makes you into the offense. It makes you into a willing participant in the offense, because you're allowing that which offends you to put you in a different place, to put you in the place of this endless sort of victimhood. When you accept it, you say, I am a being in a situation, but I am not the situation. I am not going to change who I am and become a victim. I am a whole being undergoing oppression, which I can neither leave nor change. But I am a whole being, very different from being put into the situation of I am the oppressed and I am the oppressed, and I am reacting to the oppressor. I am no longer my own self. I am controlled. When you're the victim, you're controlled.
Right. To that third point, to accept the situation doesn't mean that you accept the identity of victim.
Exactly.
All right. You see the situation as it is, but as you had said, you are not the situation. You are not a victim. Because many times that is the drumbeat that's trying to penetrate into you. You are a victim. And the minute you do that, you give over your power,
your identity,
and your ability to decide on how the situation will bear on you and the environment around you. You are not what is happening to you. You are so much more. And the whole idea is to accept that you are so much more than what you see unfolding around you. That's tricky, because most people think that, well, I can't just accept what's going on. I have to fight. It's like, yeah, you may choose to fight, but it's also understanding that the situation that's happening still is not you, but you are participating in it. It's a hard one. That's a hard one, especially if you're in a fight for something that you hold very dear. It's easy to identify failing at a task with being a failure. You may fail at the task, but you are not a failure.
Let me put one thing out there which I think will crystallize this, and it's personal because it was Christopher, or anybody in a situation. You know, our son was diagnosed with incurable cancer. They told us right away that it was basically an incurable, or nearly an incurable, extremely rare disease. And anybody in that situation, you look at the three things. You can't leave it. You can try to change it, but you may not be able to change it. And if you don't accept it, and you say, I am the cancer, I am flawed, I am broken, I am a victim, it will destroy you. It will destroy your being, you know.
It'll destroy your charge, the person that you love. Because if you accept the fact that you guys are a victim of cancer, and that's the only thing that you are, then there's no hope for you, ever.
Well, as the person themselves who is presented with this type of a situation, you are, and in this case, you're given an existential threat. Let's just abstract it a little bit. You will die, and this is what's going to happen to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. To complain and make yourself a victim puts you in the situation of no longer living, no longer being. You are controlled. You are identified. You are a victim of this oppressing thing, of this existential threat. And you lose the essential thing that happened to all those kids in that cancer ward. You lose the essence of humanity, which is, if you look at it in broad, we are all victims of life because we're all going to die. And in saying that, I can't, I'm just going to complain throughout my whole life because every little thing, including my whole life, is going to somehow offend me, means you're not living. You're in the mind endless reflection. You, in that situation where it's so clear that in this situation, this particular affliction is going to take your life, to then turn yourself into a victim. Oh, woe is me. Oh, look at me. Oh, feel sorry for me. Pity me. I'm a victim. You're no longer being anymore. And that's the essential truth that human beings realize at that kind of burning point of being put into that type of situation. Once you accept it, because you can't change it and you can't leave it, you find incredible strength. And we saw it in so many of those kids. We saw it in Christopher. The incredible strength of accepting where they were and then saying, I'm going to live anyway. I'm going to fight. I'm going to try. I'm going to live every day. I'm going to die, but my life will have been a complete life, a being life.
Well, it's understanding that death is part of the process down here.
Exactly.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that you're resigned to your death. Okay.
You don't even think about it.
No. See that, and that's a point that must be made. Accepting the understanding that death happens, death is, and you have very little control over it, regardless of what people say. That's about the only thing that's certainty down here. But the kids didn't dwell on that. They dwelled on the fact that life is good.
Yeah.
And life is sweet. And even though there may be hard times, you are participating in life with people that you love and care about. And those moments, painful though they may be, are still moments that resonate with your very soul. You're expressing a love so deep and boundless that nothing can contain it. And those are the moments that go into eternity, part of the record that you accumulate as you live down here, far more precious than anything you could possibly imagine. But the children understood that you must live. It's only through living that things happen, that moments occur. All right? And living doesn't mean doing. It means being with the people that you care about, and even the people you may not care for.
Well,
but it is an expression of your heart, and it's your true heart expression no matter what is going on.
And to bring it back, the acceptance of that situation can look like, you're not doing anything, but you're doing the most important thing. You're separating the fact that this situation is so severe and so serious that it's going to end your life, most likely. But you say, yes, I accept that, but I'm not going to let it define this moment. I'm going to live this moment. I'm going to enjoy and feel the sweetness of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize, you witness so brilliantly in that point that people looking at that say, if you have any feeling whatsoever, you say, this is the way to live every moment of all of our lives at any moment. These kids, because of the way that they accepted where they were, and some, of course, became cured, and some didn't, and so on. It didn't matter. The acceptance of that situation was a witness to being, to life, that resonated far beyond into people who, the doctors, the nurses, the people who barely knew them, felt it.
What they were accepting was the possibility.
Mm.
And yes, I may die, and yes, I may live. Yes, bad things could happen, and yes, good things could happen.
Exactly.
But I choose to live
right.
this very moment.
Right.
And it's that acceptance of that opening of possibilities is what made life sweet. Because if you accept the idea that you are a victim, then those possible good things that could happen to you don't exist.
No, it's all sour.
You shut the door.
Yes.
Firmly on hope.
Yes.
And that is something that most people don't realize. If you accept a victim mentality, you shut the door on hope.
Yes. And you allow yourself to stop living regardless of your temporal existence, because you're no longer a being. You're something which is defined by an oppression, defined by a trouble, defined by something which is in essence, you become the object of this oppression. You are no longer a being, you're an object. When you complain, a victim is an object. In acceptance, you realize the perhaps the highest form of being, that we are beings on this earth that have as our highest goal to realize the sweetness of life in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So Eckhart Tolle puts the third thing in here in his statement, and he says it almost casually, but that or accept it is actually the heart of the whole thing. Like Tolle, he just hides it in there and just moves along and giggles a bit. But that's it.
What he says is, all else is madness.
And all else is madness. And even, the first... Go ahead.
What I'd like to say is that recognize your madness. This is the key to recognizing your own steps into madness.
And to pull yourself back.
To become aware of it. Okay, not to react like, oh God, I'm going crazy again. It's like, yes, I'm taking a step into crazyhood.
Well, as we step a little bit closer to crazyhood, let's take a step back and go back to the studio and have a little break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about not being a victim.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
The timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhum.music.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
You are listening to The Soul of the Everyman on Artist First World Radio. All past shows are archived. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Scott, and welcome to the second half of the Soul of the Everyman, where we've been talking a little bit tonight about. I guess we've been talking about the sort of the seductive nature of being a victim, but we went very interestingly in the last half hour to how important it is to understand that the thin edge of the knife, the thin edge of moving yourself away from being a living human being to being something which is in essence a prisoner of that which oppresses you, is that idea of being of moving towards being a victim. Now, we talked a lot about it in the last half hour. I don't want to go too far into it, but the other side of it is moving yourself away from being a victim, and in doing so, you realize two things. We talked about it a little bit in the last half hour, that in saying to yourself, in essence, that I will not allow what oppresses me, and everyone in the world has something which is oppressing them, something which is bothering you, some affliction, rather than saying, pity me, you have the incredible human power to decide, to use your free will, to decide that you will not be a victim. And then once you do that, you are in the center, and you have the ability to do something. And there are, in the quote that we talked about in the last half hour, Tolle's quote, he kind of sums it up and to say that you can leave, You can do something to change, or you can accept it. And of the three, the acceptance is incredibly powerful, and we talked about why. But the other two are important too. In a situation which is less as existential, something that is not necessarily going to kill you immediately, or that is not so incredibly oppressive. You can be in a bad situation in your office, in your work, or in some sort of environment which is toxic. And we talked about toxic people a few shows ago. You have, once you decide that you're not going to be a victim of that person or that situation, it empowers you. You can say, all right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to move on. I'm going to say, this is your problem. I am me. It is not my problem. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go from a toxic relationship to one in which I am loved, and I can reciprocal, loving arrangement. And in doing so, you break not only that, the oppressors, people who like to victimize find power in victimization. They find through victimizing people, through getting people to become their chattel through oppression, they feel more powerful. And one of the ways to deny a victimizer power is to leave them, to say, I shut you off, I cut you off, I will no longer play your game, and I will move on. And this is a very powerful response. And in that case, you turn from a victim to a victor, to somebody who will change your situation, or at least wall off the ability of someone to hurt you in a perpetual way. Because if they hurt you and you complain, the whining is music to the victimizer's ears. They want to hear you complain. They want you to be upset. They want you to be victimized to make themselves powerful. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. If you complain, it brings you into the mindset of the victim mentality. Mm-hmm. And under that mentality, you have no power. So the complaining is basically giving permission to have no power. You've given your power over to the person that is victimizing you.
Right.
So it's a red flag as far as I'm concerned to pay attention when you begin to complain about something. What are you giving your power over to?
Exactly.
To be aware of the fact that you are actually giving permission for someone to take advantage of you. And that's a mindset. You switch into a mindset that allows someone, you yourself have given the permission to be taken advantage of. And that's a hard one to learn unless someone can actually point it out to you.
Right. You see these relationships where victims and victimizers, and the victimizers are literally feeding off the victim, in essence.
Yes.
The complaint of the victim, or the acceptance of victimhood by complaining, and it empowers them. They get a high off of the fact that they're...
Yeah, you've turned into an enabler.
Yes. You
are enabling this person to control you this way.
Right.
And it's a mindset. So in other words, you have to be able to see that this is happening and take back your ability to choose.
Right. Take back your power.
And choose otherwise.
Yeah. And so, the idea that rather than complain, then in essence give back the broken energy, which is what a victimizer is looking for, the control of your being.
Wait, give back what?
Give back to them by complaining. Give back to them what they're looking for. They're looking for your complaint. They're looking for your victimhood.
That mindset that you're embracing allows them to use your own power against you.
Yes, exactly. And you have the ability, instead of to do that, to leave. That's one of the things that totally says. You can leave the situation. And when you see these I'll just say there are battered women and oppressed in oppressive relationships, and it takes an incredible fortitude to decide to leave them. They get into almost like a Stockholm syndrome. Any kind of abused person can get to the point where they almost feel, like you say, enabling, and that this relationship is somehow, even though it's horrible and terrible and abusive, they stay in them.
They have accepted their position of a victim.
Exactly. And it takes courage and fortitude and strength to leave, to wall that person off, that victimizer, and cut off their ability to hurt you by moving away from them. And oftentimes, you have to be very careful, because victimizers, when people do that, they get enraged, and there's violence in some cases. But the positive step, the first positive step, is to no longer allow yourself to be the victim by accepting it, by complaining about it, by allowing them to push you into that mode of victim versus victimizer. So this part of advice for again is to push yourself away from this victim mentality. Change the situation is the second one. And changing means it's more active. I think if of all those three, whether you're accepting or leaving, changing means that you're going to fight. You go from victim to a warrior. You say, you can't victimize me, and I'm going to make you understand that through changing you, through changing the situation, to actively make this thing better. And that can be what you see today, not in all cases, but today in some of these Me Too cases, where these victims are at least taking the courage to push back against this oppressive regime. And you could see it was a culture of oppression that was enabled at many, many levels, and takes incredible courage to push back against a culture of oppression, because it looks like you're the only one. You see it in oppressive cultures, where they treat their people as victims. Right. And it's like, we all do this way, and you're at the lowest bottom, you're in the totem, the bottom of the thing, you can't. And to spark a revolution, one person has to stand up and say, no, I will not be a victim. I am a being, and I'm going to fight back for my beinghood. And you may kill me, you may defeat me, but you will no longer victimize me. I will not be your victim. I will be your enemy. I will be your defeated enemy, perhaps. I will be your you may kill me. You may physically kill me as your enemy, but you will not victimize me. And that is a being state of full humanity. You are a warrior because you are now yourself. You've taken back your power. You may be going up against odds which are so far against you that you cannot win, but that doesn't matter anymore, because the possibility of winning doesn't mean that you don't fight anyway.
Well, what it is you've won the war. You may lose the battle, but you've won the war.
Explain that. That's exactly the point.
You have come to the realization of who you truly are, and nothing can change that. Your identity is so firmly seated in the very core of your being, the heart of your soul, that you decide, and nothing will change who you are. Again, your physical body may die, but you can't change my mindset, my identity, even my attitude towards you. You cannot change. Do you realize how much power that is? that when someone who is against you, say bullying you for some reason, and you have the attitude of, that doesn't matter. And yeah, this person's gonna rant or scream or beat you, but it's like, you don't understand. You're still a bully,
Right.
and I do not give you credence of any form.
And in that is not only taking back your power, but you strike fear to the very depths of the core of the oppressor, no matter how powerful they look like they are. One expression of true identity, of I don't care what you do to me, including death, doesn't matter. And you strike fear to the very core of oppressive regimes with that. That's where martyrs, where revolutionaries come from, because the power of saying, I am not your victim,
Right.
puts such fear into the heart of those who oppress, because they need victims.
Yeah.
More than the victims need to be. They need victims.
Right. They need the fear. They need other people's power to be able to exist. It's like a parasite.
Like a parasite.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing when that shift happens and you realize who you are and the oppression that's happening to you from the outside world really has no bearing on who you are.
Mm.
And you will easily say, no, you treat me like dirt, but I don't receive it.
Mm.
And yeah, I may be getting beat today, but I'm going to get up again.
Yeah.
And again. And again. And again.
You touch on something incredibly important about victimhood. Victimhood is also an expression of it's the realization of fear, of the spirit of fear. And we talked once many shows ago about, we are not given a spirit of fear. Human beings, the being essence of who we are, and we know this in our core, is fearless.
Yes.
And when you're truly, as a human being, accepting it, there's no longer any fear, because you know in your heart's core that you are an indestructible spirit, that fear is based in the corporeal, and it's based in a lie. And when you stand up in your indestructible spirit and face that lie and say, I am the truth, the reverberations into the core of what looked insurmountable, what looked undefeatable. And it doesn't matter. At that point, they will attack you 100 times harder, because they are so afraid of the fearless being that they almost have to destroy you. But yet it doesn't matter. Once you express the fearlessness of being, it resonates with every other being. And in the fearless heart of the human being, there is no complaint.
Right. It understands.
It understands.
It understands it at a core level, and it understands their identity, who I am.
Mm.
And it's unshakable.
You convert whole cultures, whole societies, with the unshakable, fearless I am. And it's so incredibly powerful that only you can set it aside. Only you, by complaining, by allowing yourself to be a victim, you give up such incredible power. And the victimizers, that's why they love it. That's why they feed off of it, because they're feeding off of your power, your being. And when you take it back, it feels as though you're going to die, but you realize the power, and you then realize that you're eternal. This is what these kids in the cancer ward realized when they got to that point. They realized they were eternal. It didn't matter how strong or how powerful the oppression was. You realize the sweetness of life. You realize the incredible indestructibleness of who you are as a being, and nothing else. It's not that nothing else matters. It's that no no, to use the phrase, no weapon formed against, no other thing that comes against you can
Overcome.
can overcome. You have overcome it all by accepting the fact that you are not a victim. And if you're not a victim, the only other thing you can be is a victor. You can't be just you're not an also-ran. You win when you don't allow yourself to be a victim. Regardless of what happens to your body, you've already won. You hear these phrases, and it's a wonderful thing. It's from Triton, from pop culture. When Obi-Wan says, you can strike me down, but I'll become greater than you can possibly imagine. Well, he's expressing something which resonates in the heart, because it doesn't matter what happens to the body. What matters is that I know who I am. I am a being that is indestructible, and regardless of the amount of fear or the amount of things that you threaten me with, if I think to myself, I am indestructible, I am a being, it's like so much fluff. It's like so much nothing, and you strike back at such an existential level that you can convert a whole culture with the testimony of that one fearless I am.
It's the incorporation of your spirit so completely into your soul and mind, heart and body, so completely integrated that you become fully human in that moment.
Right.
And that expression, there are no words. You are indomitable.
Indomitable is a great way to put it. You're indomitable.
And it is, it's hard to explain. There is an elation because all of you, every part of you realizes who you are.
Right.
Every single part, your physical body as well as your emotions and your thoughts, your mind, and almost every cell is in harmony with the identity of who you are. And when you're in that kind of single point focus, your being transcends the here and now dimensions of 3 into a ridiculous, almost infinite dimensional state.
You become, you could say, like unto spirit, like unto the Lord, like you become identified with that which is all.
Yeah.
And you don't look different, but that doesn't matter. Your spirit overcomes all. And you will die. You may be destroyed. You may be defeated. You may be all those things, but none of it matters, because defeat doesn't define you. Your
Right.
body's existence or non-existence doesn't define you. The lack of victimhood means you are indestructible, indomitable, undefeatable, and you are being. You are a being. This power is so, it's really so potent that the only thing that can take it from you is through your own action. You trifle with victimhood at your own peril, because you you actually disassociate yourself from that which you are and feed the incredible power of your being into that which victimizes you. And it is, and you know it. You can feel the drain. If you go into this complain and accept, and become a victim, the drain is like having your life's blood sucked away from you, whether it's slowly or quickly. And you can feel it. And it is so sweet that oppressor after oppressor will come to suck away your life. And when you decide to stop, it'll feel for an instant as though you will be destroyed by the fear. But as soon as you step past it, it's like a gate, and fear becomes a chimera. It becomes a nothing. There is no fear.
There is no fear. Your fear is transmuted into absolute hope.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because fear is just giving power or credence to something that may happen,
Mm-hmm.
that you've decided that you don't like. And it's understanding that you as a being, you choose every moment. So if you choose to complain, you shift your mindset into a space where the power that you are is only focused down or cut off or minimized into this small ring of reality that you decided contains what your fear is.
Mm.
Your fear is wringing a part of your soul away from the rest of you. And if you concentrate only on that ring, which is the fear, then all the aspects, all the power that you are gets focused into the thing of fear, the ring of fear. And you enforce your cage.
Right.
At that point, you are enforcing your own cage.
Right.
With participating with the fear. If you decide, I've had enough, because there's a part of you that gets tired of having to deal with this over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And if you decide that that's it, I've had enough, you've reached the end of yourself, you take a step out of that and you can choose differently.
And you realize how weak and how diaphanous, how basically
how dependent the fear is on that decision.
Yes, right. How much you, in essence, harmed yourself or tied yourself down.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this is the mentality of the victimizer, is to get you going with fear and then reinforce the fear as often as they can, because it's a sure way to tie someone down.
And there was a previous show where we were discussing how you can be imprisoned by other people's opinions.
Yes.
And what is that except an expression of fear?
Yes.
That you don't want people to say something bad about you.
Yes. And the takeaway is, don't let yourself complain. Don't be a victim.
Catch yourself when you complain.
Yes, and realize who you are and be a victor. And with that, I'm Michael Lyons.
We've reached the end of our show, and I'm Margaret, and thank you for listening.